Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sandeep. I lead the company by the name Cube, and I'm joined by two of my co-founders, Snigdha Gupta and Shabam Chaje. Let me straight deep dive into our innovation and idea. So we were first talking about innovation in the analytics and the AI space, and our whole theme is about how explainable AI and the generative AI is actually redefining the whole marketing analytics landscape. In that, it's very important for the marketers today to be far more agile in the kind of solutions they get, because gone are the days when older solutions used to work for the future forecast. They really want to be on their toes and want to see what worked for us in the last 1 week, last 1 month, to make sure that we're able to predict the future outcome with a fair amount of accuracy. And they want how we can really use, and how we and Cube have used the generative AI or the power of quantum computing to make sure that we're able to deliver to their expectations, able to deliver to those future outcomes with almost 97% accuracy, which is pretty much very few who have offered or who have done work in that space of the kind of an accuracy in a real time. What is the problem that we have solved when we started Cube 3 years back? It's all about the disintegrated CRM media marketing platforms, many KPIs or the various KPIs that they are measuring, but don't know which one to measure, which one we should look at, which when grows, the business grows, and not really an availability of a very strong marketing ecosystem or a marketing forecasting ecosystem that they should use to say what we should do in order to drive value for the company in the long term or the short term. But the expectation was very clear, but they wanted to drive an ROI. They want to drive so that analytics must become far more agile and real time, enabling their decision making. With the more than 50% of the money is going into the digital ecosystem, how can we have a support system, an automation system that should enable us in our what to do as we move forward, given things are changing very fast. And given most of the analytical solutions are fairly cost intensive and the resource intensive, how can we really democratize it by making that part to be far more liberal, far more cheaper, and far more scalable? With that, we thought our innovation was perfectly fit to that. How we've developed analytics platform as a SaaS so that they can use it all the time. The prioritization of it was the key. How we have combined the whole traditional AI capabilities along with the generative AI capabilities to make sure that we're not only analyzing in the best possible way, we're able to generate solutions for a lot of things that they have not done in the past. So how are we giving them a solution for that? And followed a very small, simple approach so that it's easy to onboard any new client, from the ingesting their old data sets to onboarding our entire analytics suite to, of course, making them the prescriptive solutions. This is, from our from a kitchen standpoint of what actually goes in making an analytical suite, I would say fairly unique in the market today. Along with all things, I think is the modeling capabilities or the ensembling modeling capabilities that we have that really sets us apart. And the way we pick the trend in the data, the way we basis our trend in the data decides what's the best methodology to build the causal construct between an input and outcome, and how that has been used to design what's the opportunity each of the investment or each of the drivers have in drive value for the business in terms of new customers or the sales or the profitability or however we define our success measures. And that's what we have done it really well. I'll quickly walk you through, some of our process in a sort of a video manner so that, you can see it, how we have done it. So of course, it starts from a data integration point of view, which moves to the data preparation side. Very important to understand the outliers, what's happening, what the trend is, how do we do that? And the whole transformation and the kind of methodologies, techniques, steps we take to transform the entire data from an, where it comes to the usage point of view, the whole model part of it.
Sandeep, we are losing you. Sandeep, your voice is not very clear.
When to use and so on. And the entire validation part of the model, as we know, because it's very important to validate each and every outcome of yours to make sure that when I give the suggestion, it will hold true. And then that's landing into the calibrating it to finding the best, most optimal solution for someone to use it to find the best optima, and of course be able to use their, use to get the higher ROI, higher growth from each of the channels. The way we plan to use it and how we have used it in our user journeys, it's all about democratizing the usage. So we give our users, clients, business leaders a very simple, visual, graphic, as well as through a UIs and apps to use our outcomes from a descriptive to a very prescriptive way. And that's the biggest unique advantage we have, that no platform gives you from a descriptive to a prescriptive findings into the one common platform in a one common construct. And that's what we give it to them. And that's where the entire, we call it as the future of marketing analytics, what people have been using it. I know I'll give you a very short, quick demo of a product. I know it's shorter time, but this is a platform that clients get it. It's a client Unilever for whom we have done it. So it's all the data is I'm sort of giving a demo of that. So it's not real data for them, but that's a client that we have. And we have been built it for at whatever level you want to do it for them. Let's say they have a categories like a hair care, personal care, food, beverage, and so on. Each of the category have been modeled here. And if you just click on the tree chart, each of the brand in the category have been modeled to understand the growth drivers for the brand, the opportunities that channels have to drive growth for the brand, which brand can fetch what kind of a return in the back of a pricing, back of investment, back of the distribution, back of macros being better, and so on and so forth. And as you click on here, you get the entire range of activities from a landscaping to the ROI drivers, growth projections, and so on and so forth. I won't get deeper in that. That's what you get from them. And I'll move back to the presentation. And this is what, like I said, the unique value that we deliver or we give to clients is the having the entire data integrations with the prescriptive part into the one common framework. So we can go higher on the computational complexity. At the same time, more value it adds to the business in terms of what do I do in order to drive my business at a 15% growth, what will give me a 0.5% market share gain. And it creates the entire investment plan, the business plan for them to say what they should do to do that. And it's been done in a productized manner. So it's far more scalable, is much faster. And like I said, the accuracy of outcomes are far superior compared to most of the legacy models that they were using up until now. And that's the second slide, which is, how are we different from the competitors? Why do I say my solution is unique? Why it is sort of, very few have managed to get there. And if you look at the way it is done, is that on all of the 4 or 5 aspects, we just plotted the name of the large companies who are offering the prescriptive analytics services for the marketing fraternity globally. In that, most of the green ones who have a product, but they are very below on the curve, they go up to the descriptive stage. But the one who are going to the prescriptive stages are the service-based providers and not the productized or product-based providers, which means they take much longer in developing, building, and therefore much longer in giving it. By then, sometimes you sort of lose out the insight itself to use it for your future outcomes. As I said, that gives us the much higher accuracy in our outcomes. Speed, we are 3 to 4 times much more faster than anybody else in the market. That gives us and the client a big cost benefit because they're able to accrue the benefits much faster, able to use it more real time. And that allows them to have a very strong cost benefit of having it. And the ROI gains of 17 18 clients that we have worked with is over 2.5 times that we've seen it. Same time, product is far more secure, scalable, in terms of deployment. It's in the cloud, so it's usually deployed in client's own network, which means data is safe, data is with them, nothing comes out of their premise. The market itself is huge. It's a 20 billion market as Gartner's and other people have looked at this market. Was for 12 billion, but it's growing very fast and predicted to be 20 billion in 24, 25. And India itself is about a 1%, it's about a 260 odd million, they're counting India. So it's a fairly large market, a market that is while penetrated a lot by the service providers, and the product people have not really gone to that level. So we think that this cube has a huge headroom to play here, headroom to grow in this market. And of course, get a decent share in this market. This is a list of our clients for whom we work. So we have a lot of big clients who have tested us, looked at us, our product, and have switched to us from their legacy partners. And that's the kind of a big names you see across categories. We have 17 plus clients across 5 global markets. So a client in the US, 3 in Southeast Asia, 1 in Middle East, and of course, India. And we have fairly large clients across all of the domains. Fairly healthy testimonials we have from clients across the sectors who have used us, who have recommended us, who have given good feedback about us to other clients who then have onboarded us. So we have a good healthy there. On the social impact and sustainability, I think we are small, but have a decent work that we've done in this, in terms of hiring, in terms of initiative that we have taken, or in terms of our commitment towards I&D. And last not but the least, the team that you see it here, four of us, all from the Ivy Leagues, all have worked for 20 plus years, have a good experience in managing cultures, managing P&Ls, managing businesses, managing talent. So that's who we are and what we're doing. And that's up for my side. Thank you so much for your time. Happy to take questions.
Well, it could work, but we would like to really understand like how you're generating prescriptions. So I presume since you're using the LLM wrapper, which is GPT wrapper, you're passing the descriptive and predictive analytics data for generating recommendations.
Yes.
The problem with that the variability of the recommendation will be very high. And from department to department and company to company, these recommendations will vary, and only the subject matter experts has that knowledge embedded in their head or perhaps in document.
Yeah.
So I would like to really understand how you're reducing the variability and giving the precise recommendation. Otherwise, this can really go haywire, just like canned recommendations kind of stuff.
Perfect. So I'll start with it. I'll let Shubham add to this question. So if you look at the way we start, is that most of the information that we have is what we get from the client, from their CRMs, from their investment data and all. And from there, we have built models like the causal construct from the inputs and outcome. Once we have built that, from there we are now using it to predict the outcome from the investments for the next 1 month, next 3 months, next 6 months. That's how that construct works. So if I'm looking at
predictive, it is we understand. We are just, since you're claiming the prescription, that is where like my comment and argument is.
Okay.
I would like
to
give a very precise answer toward that.
Sure. Shubham, you want to explain that?
Yeah. So even just coming to the LLM wrappers and GPTs and everything, we have actually built our own set of algorithms and everything. So LLM is something which we are using for simulating different kind of scenarios. But the input to those LLMs have already been derived from the algorithms that Sandeep has already talked about, whose predictive accuracies are more than 95%, right? So we have already done all the algorithms, build all the algorithms on those things.
Shubham, please understand. So I understand descriptive, predictive part, right? So everybody is doing that job. What my comment is that prescription you're generating is basically you're passing the data of descriptive and predictive, right? Now the prescription which is generated by LLM, which is typically GPT, will be having the variability because you're not generating the prescription based on the data.
No.
So what predictive data to LLM and relying on the LLM to generate the prescription, there is variability, huge variability.
Sorry. Before even getting into the LLMs, there is a set of algorithms which is actually generating all the prescriptions. So Sandeep can show you the simulator also, which is basically developed on different optimization algorithms, and which is a real-time switch seeing the problem statement. Let's say the classic example or the classic problem statement that we get from client is, let's say I have a budget of 200 CR and let's say I want to know how to best invest those budgets. So that is the first thing that any client does. So what we have done is we have our own set of algorithms, set of frameworks that is there that uses different kind of ABC algorithms, meta heuristics.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shubham. And we would like to really see what you actually do for generating the data for prescription, right? So if you can really provide those additional information by email or submitting separate documentation, that will really helpful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to add one point there. This is Snigdha.
Snigdha, before you answer, request you to please turn on your video.
Yeah, actually, I am outside and
That's
there's
fine.
Is that okay? Yeah. Sure. So, I would like to answer this question saying that LLM or the GPT is the last part where we want to bring more responsiveness and where the client or the consumer can just type a question and they can start getting answers. But the entire product which gives a prescriptive solution
is... I understood. Okay.
Right.
Other jury members asked the question.
Sure, please do.
Shubham responded pretty well.
Professor Zhang or Professor Fatma, anyone of you would like to take the second?
Yeah, I think there is a problem with the streaming, but I'm gonna ask a question anyway.
Sure.
So I would like to know, how did he measure the 15% growth? This is number one. And number two, have you done any comparative study using quantum computing and other types of computing that would be less costly, for example? And why you did not consider semantic AI for implementation as well? Thank you.
I'll just start with the techniques, or what kind of, or how do we switch between different kind of instances. So let's say the variety of clients that we work with is that the data of theirs ranges from daily level transaction data, which comes in millions of rows, to a data set of, let's say, monthly data for 3 years or 4 years. So this is where we actually switch between the different instances that we are using. So let's say if I have a client that comes with a data set of a million data set, and which has number of features which ranges from on an average 500 to 1000 number of features. So for that, if you just, so there is an algorithm which calculates how much simulations, or the number of iterations that we require to solve the problems. So let's say I require on an average 1,000,000 iteration to identify the best parameter fit for each and every variable that I'm operating with. And if that causes, or that switches between, let's say, consuming a memory of, let's say, 500 to 600 MB to, let's say, at 30 to 45 GB kind of a thing. So there we actually differentiate between these kind of instances. So classic example is, let's say, a lot of our data sets goes into, if there is a smaller data set, we might use a lot of times the CPU based parse. And then if there is a very high data set which requires a lot of computation, then we switch into GPU based power systems. So this is the thing that is there. And basis mostly the size of the iterations and the size of the in-memory usage of things, and the number of computation and the turnaround time. So these are the 3 or 4 matrices which we use to switch between different computing algorithms.
To answer your first question of the market share gain or the value gain 15%, what we do is that since we analyze almost 200 odd investment channels drivers that they've had over the last quarters, 6 months, 1 year and more, we know how have they performed over a period of time and how have they contributed in the last or immediate past as we know it. And there we draw a response for each of the channel or each of the investment options, saying what's the headroom to grow at the back of that. And that's where our entire simulation starts, that where do I increase or decrease or accelerate or push back, where their deltas are going to be higher. And then over those 100 or 100 plus 50 odd investment areas, we look at where the delta is going to be 0.1, 0.2, whatever it is. So that cumulative, I find that same monies can give me an incremental X percentage growth in terms of a value or X percentage market share growth. And the one that is best, which has been validated by all of our, out of time validations, block validations, we go with that. And that's how we do that. So that's where if I look at two very recent examples of a client with a trading company and client with the CPG, how they managed to achieve that share gain and the value gain at the back of taking those options and applying and therefore seeing the results in subsequent months. That's how we do that.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Professor Zhang, your question.
Okay. Yes, very quickly. Thank you very much. The interface is very nice, especially the visualization, right? Looks very kind of clean and friendly. So I have a high-level question. So during the whole process, which part do you think is the most challenging thing, or the hardest? I ask the question because it seemed to be a nice integration of different things, right? But I fail to see exactly where you can you make novel or kind of unique contribution. Could you say something about it?
I think two things I would add it here. One was, while I myself has been in the industry for the last 20 years, but I think like the first question we had, it's very important how are we meshing the SME expertise into the model outcome. So I'm saying model sometimes, possibly behave similarly for an automobile versus a healthcare versus a CPG versus some other industry. I mean, how the SME inputs are coming into the model so that the records that models are giving out to the respective users actually holds true for the industry. And that's where was the hardest, but that's where we have done more work, all of our learnings, and how have we then differentiated similar algos, but answering it differently for an auto versus a QCOM versus an ecom versus something else. One part of it, I think I would say. And second part, I think it's all about when you are in the line of prioritizing it, so moving away from a services model to a product-wise model and trying to give all into one, and without compromising the accuracy. I think that's where the challenge we had, and that's what pushed us to, I think, on the innovation side, to think of different kind of algorithms. And the way we have built entire modeling ecosystem is built because we are pushed to build something like that, and so that we don't compromise on the accuracy and yet give that kind of an agile solution. That's what it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, jurors, for your question. Now, please enter your score.